She already posted photos with the crib while Lauretta was still in the hospital. So this wasn't emotional. How long have they been planning this?
The crib's gone? I was still holding my newborn when I screamed it into the phone, standing in the middle of an empty nursery with hospital bracelets still wrapped around my wrist. "Mom, where is my baby's crib?" My husband froze behind me. The custom crib his dead father built by hand, the one we left unfinished before rushing to the hospital, had vanished. The blankets were still folded, the mobile still hung from the ceiling, but the crib was gone. Then my mother sighed like I was the problem. "Your sister needed it more," she said. I actually thought I misheard her. My stitches were burning, my baby had just started crying, and my mom was calmly explaining that she'd taken our crib out of our house while I was recovering from childbirth, and gave it to my younger sister without asking. Then she added something that made my stomach drop. "You weren't using it yet anyway." I hung up instantly. Then I called her right back, because I just realized something even worse. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. I looked around the nursery again, and suddenly every little detail felt wrong. The dresser drawers were half open, the rocking chair had been moved. One of the closet bins was missing too. "Damien?" My voice came out thin. "She was in here longer than she said." He stepped past me carefully, like the room had become a crime scene. Our daughter stirred against my chest, making those tiny newborn noises that normally melted me. But all I could feel was heat crawling up my neck, because my mother had keys to our house, and she'd been here while we were in the hospital. The phone rang once before she answered again. This time she sounded irritated. "What now, Lauretta?" I swallowed hard. "How did you even move it?" Silence. Not confusion, not denial. Silence. Then she said, "Morel's friend has a truck." My stomach twisted. So this wasn't impulsive. This wasn't some emotional misunderstanding. My mother had planned this. She'd coordinated it. While I was hooked to monitors trying to deliver my baby, she was emptying my nursery. "You took it apart?" Damien snapped before I could speak. Mom ignored him completely. "Your sister is having a hard enough time already without you two acting dramatic." That sentence hit me like ice water. Morel. My younger sister who'd always somehow ended up at the center of every family crisis. Morel, who crashed my first car at 19 and somehow got comforted while I paid the insurance increase. Morel, who borrowed money she never returned. Morel, who cried once, and suddenly everyone else was expected to sacrifice something. But this was different. This was my baby. "You had no right," I whispered. "Oh, please," Mom shot back instantly. "You can afford another crib." Another crib, like the one Damien's father spent months building before cancer took him, was replaceable. Like the carved wooden stars along the rails meant nothing. Like the faded pencil marks inside one panel, measurements his dad had written by hand, were just furniture details. Damien took the phone from me before I started crying again. "Put the crib back," he said flatly. Mom laughed. Actually laughed. "You two are unbelievable. Morel needs support right now." "She doesn't even have a baby," Damien said. Another silence. Too long. I felt my grip tighten around my daughter automatically. Then my mother said quietly, carefully, "Not everything is your business yet." Damien and I looked at each other instantly. That word. Yet. And suddenly the missing crib didn't feel like the worst thing she'd taken. By the time we got back into the car, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely fasten my seatbelt. Damien started the engine hard. "We're going there. Right now." Our daughter finally fell asleep against my chest as we drove across town, but my body felt wrecked. Every bump in the road pulled at my stitches. I hadn't even unpacked my hospital bag yet, and now I was heading into another fight with my mother. The entire drive, I kept replaying that word in my head. Yet. Not everything is your business yet. What the hell was that supposed to mean?
And why had she gone quiet when Damien mentioned Morel not having a baby? I stared out the window, remembering every time my mother had forced me to understand my sister. When Morel totaled my car, Mom said she was already feeling guilty enough. When my college savings disappeared because Morel needed help getting back on her feet, I was told family mattered more than money. When Morel lost jobs, relationships, apartments, there was always a reason, always someone else to blame, and somehow I always became the solution. But this time she'd crossed into my home, my child's space. Damien pulled into my mother's driveway so fast the tires crunched over gravel. The garage door was half open, and I saw it immediately. Crib panels, stacked against the wall. My chest tightened. She lied, I whispered. Because 20 minutes earlier, she claimed the crib was already assembled at Morel's apartment. Before we even reached the porch, my mother stepped outside like she'd been watching for us. "You need to calm down before you wake the baby," she hissed. "Where is it?" Damien asked. Mom crossed her arms. "You're embarrassing yourselves." Then Morel appeared behind her. She wouldn't look at me, not once. And that scared me more than if she'd argued back. Damien walked past them toward the garage. Mom moved quickly to block him. "You do not come into my house accusing people." "Then why is the crib still here?" I snapped. For the first time, she looked caught, just for a second. Then Morel said something quietly that made the entire situation feel worse. "Mom said you wouldn't notice for a few days anyway." The air went dead silent. Damien slowly bent down beside the crib panel, leaning against the wall. Then his expression changed completely. He ran his thumb across the wood and held up the spot where someone had tried to sand away his father's engraved message. "What the hell did you do?" Damien's voice dropped so low it barely sounded like him. He turned the wood panel toward me carefully, and my stomach flipped. The engraving was damaged. Not completely gone, but scraped, sanded, gouged at like someone had deliberately tried to erase it. "Built with love for the next generation." I could still make out part of the sentence beneath the scratches. My knees almost gave out. That crib had been the last thing Damien's father ever made before he died. He'd spent months in his garage, carving those tiny details by hand while going through chemo. Damien cried the day we brought it home, and now my mother had treated it like some garage sale hand-me-down. Morel started crying instantly. "I told you not to sand it that hard." Then she froze. Too late. Damien stared at her. "You did this?" "It wouldn't fit the aesthetic," Mom cut in sharply before Morel could answer. I actually laughed from disbelief. Aesthetic. My newborn daughter's crib was being redesigned to match my sister's apartment. "You had no right," I said again, but this time my voice sounded colder. Mom rolled her eyes. "You are being unbelievably dramatic over a piece of furniture." But that wasn't even the part that hit hardest. It was what I noticed next. Baby bottles drying beside the kitchen sink, stacks of newborn diapers near the hallway, tiny sleepers folded on the couch. My pulse spiked. I looked at Morel slowly. Why do you have baby supplies? Her face immediately crumpled. Mom stepped between us. That's none of your concern. It becomes my concern when you steal from my child's nursery, Damien snapped. Then my phone started vibrating, over and over. Texts, family members, friends. I opened one from my aunt first, saw the photo. Morel standing beside my crib, smiling with her hands on the mattress. Captioned, "So grateful for family support during this new chapter." My vision blurred. They'd already posted it publicly. People thought I gave it away willingly. My own mother had stolen from me while I was in the hospital, then turned it into some fake story about generosity. I want it back, I said immediately. Mom scoffed. Don't start threatening people. I'm not threatening you, Damien said. Then he pulled out his phone calmly. I already called a lawyer. Everything changed. Mom's expression cracked for the first time, and beside her, Morel suddenly burst into tears. You don't understand, she choked out. Mom said the baby was supposed to be mine, too. For a second, nobody moved. The only sound was my daughter stirring softly against my chest while Morel cried into her hands. Damien lifted his phone slightly, recording. Mom saw it immediately. Turn that off! No, he said. And for the first time in my life, I watched my mother lose control of a situation. Morel, she snapped, stop talking. But my sister looked wrecked now, mascara running, breathing uneven like she'd been holding something in for months. You said they'd need me, she whispered. You said Lauretta wouldn't be able to handle everything after the birth. I felt physically sick. Suddenly, every weird moment during my pregnancy came rushing back. Mom insisting Morel attend ultrasound appointments. Mom joking that the baby already loved her second mommy. Mom repeatedly saying things like, You'll be exhausted. You'll need all the help you can get. At the time, I thought it was annoying. Now it sounded planned. You told her that? I asked quietly. Mom folded her arms tighter. I told her families support each other. No, Damien said sharply. You told her our child belonged to her, too. That's not what I meant. But nobody believed that anymore. Morel looked at me through tears. She said if I stayed involved from the beginning, it would feel natural eventually. Sleepovers, babysitting, holidays. My blood ran cold. Natural eventually.
She planned sleepovers and holidays before the baby even got home. That creep wasn't the boundary she wanted to cross first, was it?
Like they were slowly preparing to insert her into our daughter's life, whether we wanted it or not. Then Damien noticed something hanging beside the garage door. Our spare house key, attached to the emergency contact tag from our diaper bag. What is that doing here? He demanded. Mom immediately stepped forward. Give me that. He picked it up before she could reach it. And suddenly, I understood this wasn't just about the crib anymore. She still had access to our house, to our schedules, to our baby. I looked straight at my mother. Tell me the truth right now, I said. Did you take the crib? Or were you planning to take my child, too? Morel started sobbing harder, but Mom didn't deny it fast enough. Instead, she said the one thing that shattered whatever relationship we had left. Morel deserves a chance to be a mother after what she lost. I think part of me still expected her to backtrack, to say she misspoke, to say grief made her irrational, to say she never meant it the way it sounded. But she didn't. She stood there in her driveway, looking at me like I was the unreasonable one, and finally said everything out loud. After Morel's miscarriage 6 months earlier, She'd fallen apart emotionally. She stopped leaving her apartment, stopped answering friends, started spiraling so badly that Mom became obsessed with fixing her. Except instead of getting her actual help, my mother built a fantasy, a replacement fantasy. She needed something to hold on to, Mom said defensively. And you already have the stable marriage, the house, the life, the baby, Damien cut in. You mean our baby? Mom exhaled like he was missing the point. She wasn't going to steal her, she snapped. I just thought if Morel became involved early enough, everyone would adjust naturally. Adjust. Like my daughter was some shared family resource people could slowly redistribute. That's when I finally broke. Not screaming, not dramatic. I just started crying silently while holding my newborn tighter against my chest, because I realized something horrible. My mother never saw boundaries between my life and my sister's needs. Not once. Not ever. And now she'd extended that thinking onto my child. Morel collapsed onto the porch steps, sobbing. I didn't think she meant it like that, she kept repeating. I thought she just wanted me to feel included. But the evidence was everywhere now. The nursery setup, the stolen crib, the copied house key, the baby supplies, the social media posts trying to publicly establish her as part of the baby's life before I even got home from the hospital. This had been building for months. Damien made the call right there. Not emotional, not loud. Calm. He contacted the police to document the theft and property damage immediately, especially after seeing the destroyed engraving. Once Mom realized there would be an actual report filed, her confidence disappeared fast. The crib was returned that same night. Every piece.
Family fallout hit almost instantly after relatives learned the truth behind the gift. My aunt deleted her congratulatory comments within minutes. Cousins started calling me directly, asking if Mom had lost her mind. The family group chat exploded. Mom kept trying to frame it as a misunderstanding. Nobody bought it anymore, especially after Damien posted a close-up photo of the damaged engraving beside the original picture from when his father built it. That ended the argument fast. Morel deleted every post she made with the crib. A few weeks later, she started therapy after finally admitting how deeply Mom had manipulated her grief. We barely spoke after that, but for once, I actually believed she understood the damage. As for my mother, I changed the locks the next morning, blocked her from daycare forms before we even chose one, removed her as an emergency contact everywhere, and cut contact completely. No dramatic goodbye speech, no final argument. Because someone willing to turn my newborn into an emotional replacement for my sister wasn't safe around my family anymore. A month later, Damien repaired the engraving himself. One night, I sat in the restored nursery, rocking my daughter to sleep while my fingers traced the carved words his father left behind. Built with love for the next generation. The scratches were still faintly visible underneath, and honestly, I was glad they were. Because they reminded me exactly who my mother was the moment I finally stopped excusing her. She thought taking the crib was something we'd eventually forgive. Instead, it was the last thing she ever took from me.
The scary part is how everyone acted normal until she finally said it out loud. So how many families are actually crossing boundaries that no one is willing to call dangerous yet?